All right. What is going on, everyone? And welcome to the live stream. Sorry I missed yesterday because I had family over, but we have a lot to talk about on today's live stream. Kind of a crazy day in the market, and then a lot of stocks are super hot right now. So we'll go over at least my thoughts on what's going on, what I'm in, a couple of things. Get started a few minutes early here, so we'll let people dive in. I do want to touch on a couple little things about what's going on because I think there's a lot of people who are new and who didn't kind of go through this type of market last year, whether the penny world, whether a lot of different things. We'll talk about that stuff because a lot of people just got started from the pandemic. So we'll talk about what to potentially expect, why we're seeing certain things happening, kind of cycles, because there's a lot of patterns that repeat themselves in the market. So right now we're looking at some of the stocks. At least I'm going to go to a bigger charting feature in a second here. We're looking at some of the stuff that I'm in. I grabbed a little bit. Well, I'm scaling out of NSPR. We bought it last week on the live, and it didn't have that much, but made a few bucks on it today for sure. Pushed up 30%. It's up another 22% here in after hours. Could be another gapper candidate. Could be a potential shot for $1 tomorrow. A lot of these stocks under 50 cents, under $1, running up massively. So NSPR is definitely on my list. SNDL, we'll talk about why this guy could be kind of a huge day tomorrow. NAKD, kind of fitting that same theme. Penny stocks, as much as I said I didn't like NAKD, I grabbed some, lottery size here in the after hour session for a gap up tomorrow with my sells in place. We'll talk about some of the areas I'm looking for targets there. What else was I looking at? Other than that, that's probably the main ones I'm at least putting myself into. CHEK check was a stock that I played many times back a while back, but it's pushing up crazy numbers here, over 200% today, 66% here in the after hour session. We'll talk about BNGL. There's a lot of stuff we got to talk about here. Overall, though, I'll just dive through quickly what the overall market's looking like. So futures are green a little bit here today. After hours here now. That wasn't the case today, obviously. So today the market was down. And a very interesting day because I traditionally play small caps, and so one of the things that you always kind of like with playing small caps is that when the market goes down and market goes up, sometimes your small caps are unaffected. They're not hit as hard, or they're not they're not going to move. Like if we have a massive red day, sometimes your small caps can do their own thing, right? Especially if the sector's hot, things like that. And today was an outlier, at least in terms of I've been noticing lately that when the market's down hard, a lot of stuff, no matter what, as long as it doesn't have its own news, as long as it's not running by itself, a lot of stuff takes a hit. Today, for a lot of small caps, that was not the case. A lot of them, had solid days, very solid days. So, SPY here today, what did SPY do? It had a pretty nasty drawdown. We haven't really seen a drop this big. It didn't close down as bad as it could have been. It was down over 2% at one point. But, it could have been more. So we haven't seen, these types of drops really, maybe back in here a little bit, but really we haven't seen these types of drops since, back in, September, October kind of period. We'll see if this continues up. I think there was potential people getting, a little nervous and scared for tomorrow's Georgia runoff elections, which do have some big implications, I think, on the markets. And I think they have some implications on some stocks that we're going to talk about. For example, SNDL, right? That whole marijuana sector, the whole cannabis sector. It's going to be, it's going to be affected big time by these elections. So, hope you guys are doing well. Hope everyone's, had a good Monday. Kind of a killer Monday for most of my swings. And I really wasn't doing anything. Had family here in the morning. They just actually left. So I wasn't really doing much other than just, holding my swings. I scaled out on some things, bought a couple things here at the end of the day, but that's really it. So nothing crazy. I didn't do anything crazy. It just kind of swings working. So let's go to a bigger chart. BNGL. Well, one of the first things I did want to talk about was this whole thing. This company, nothing against the company. People are gonna. I really didn't get. I'm surprised. I thought today's video. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out after this. But I'm surprised I didn't get more. I didn't get more. Negative comments because, to be honest, when you have a stock like this that's running up, it's like crazy. You're kind of in a euphoric kind of period, right? Does this stock have potential value? Does the technology? Does it all fit the mold here? And does this have potential? Yes. Not saying it doesn't. Just personally doesn't fit my style. It doesn't fit my strategy because I have played stocks up here. I don't care how good the news is. I don't care how much potential it has. My experience, I'm not good with that stuff. I'm just not. My win rate is much lower. So I'm not going to play it. That's just me. Does that mean, you can't? Certainly does not mean anything. You can do whatever you want to do. In terms of a long-term investment, that's another whole other kind of argument. It's a whole other story. That if you're buying this guy, hold it, no big deal. Put it to the side, don't look at it. Like, that's kind of how I see it, right? A lot of the times. But my whole thing is that the euphoria of other plays. So just because this play is running up, and then we go to other plays, like for example, you go to like Sngx, right? This thing's up crazy today, up 200%, up another 60% here in the after-hour session. Just because we're seeing plays like this continue to do this, we're seeing other stocks running up crazy amounts, stocks under 50 cents, stocks under $1, all going. They're all going crazy, right? This is also something you have to understand, that this happens like every year. Now, every year is different, but generally you see biotech stocks, stocks in the medical sector, stocks, biotech. This is a hot time. Penny stocks, penny bio stocks, stocks sub $1. January is traditionally a very, very hot time for these stocks. So it kind of makes some sense. If you can kind of fit the mold, fit some sympathy plays to the big names that are running because of their technology, because of what they're doing, that's one whole other thing. So just want you to understand that if a stock starts running up because there's no news, like for example, I took a position in NAKD. Was it more of a lottery position? Yes. But I took a position because I can see this thing making big moves. I can certainly see this thing making a move over 30 cents because of what's going on with stocks in this price range right now, and because it's a time period now. It's not a bio stock. It's actually retail. But it's a cheap play, and that's just how this stuff kind of works. But at the end of the day, I'm also not holding on to NAKD saying this is the next best thing, because I realistically know that 95% of these stocks are not the next best thing. BNGO, could this be the next best thing? Yes. Could it be? Can it be a $30 stock? Yes. Just understand that there are cycles to the market, and this stuff happens every year. So just because somebody you're reading comments, or somebody starts talking about something on some forum, some chat room, just make sure you take profits. That's all I'm saying. Take your profits and move on is how I see it. Unless you've done the due diligence yourself, you believe, hey, I have every right to believe this is going to be a much higher price stock in 6 months and a year, to go ahead and invest in it. Go ahead and do it. That's just my kind of one take on that. Checking in from New York City, that awesome. Checking in here from Austin, Texas. Sun, we actually, the sun started to set a little bit later, so sun just set, which is, we're getting a little bit longer of a day. It was like 78 here today. It was awesome. Awesome day. So I have a bunch of stocks we're going to talk about. SNDL is the one I also want to talk about really quick. First, if you guys wouldn't mind, just make sure you hit the thumbs up button. I really appreciate that. That gets more ideas and flowing in the chat. Gets more of us in here, more ideas. That's better for the stream overall. So SNDL. Why do we like this guy? Why does it make why is it a potential stock to be watching here? It's in a range, first of all, so 45 cent support roughly. Yeah, could it break downside to the downside? Yes. Up to about 60 cents. That's why I have my first sell order here at 59, but I think we can see more. And we'll see what happens tomorrow, because we have the Georgia runoff elections. So I'm not sure how soon we're going to know what's happening and who's winning. And there's polls right now. So could today be a potential price in or run up into the event? Yes. But all I will say, that's when these elections, not political here, I'm just saying, if this happens, there's going to be opportunity to grab weed stocks, marijuana stocks, cannabis, right? SNDL, one of those stocks. Do I believe this is the best cannabis company out there? No. But this stock traditionally likes to run when these stocks run. That's why I'm positioning myself in this stock for a big move. It's also fitting the mold of a stock that's under $1 right now. And those stocks, these penny stocks, have been super hot. Under $1, they've been hot. So that's kind of what I'm sitting here with. But if this happens, if two Democrats win, what does that do? It allows the Senate to have Democratic control. Democratic control in the Senate allows more legislation to get passed because we have a Democratic-controlled House. Whether you like it or not, doesn't matter. It's essentially going to allow for more of these cannabis-related companies to potentially thrive, or more attention as there be more laws, more legislation passed. That's all it is. That's why we like this play. Whether you want to go with U.S. companies, Canadian companies, whatever you want to do, you do you, right? This is just one of the stocks that I've been watching. I kind of know it. I know it better than other ones. I play it. I'm also in CGC for a little bit of a longer term trade. If it goes crazy, I'll sell my CGC in my long-term portfolio. But SNDL, I want to see a 60-cent break. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We could get some crazy moves because, numbers start coming in. We'll see what happens. But if that does happen, if we do get those two Democrats winning, I anticipate SNDL making a shot back up towards these highs and potentially going further, because it's actually really big news. I think this is the biggest news, to be honest, that we've seen lately. for these pops. So learn so much, appreciate it. That's what we try to do. It's, I try to share my experience, and then that's the name of the game. I think ATOS, what's going to happen is we're going to start to see, potentially a rotation. So now these really cheap stocks, and then we start going up the kind of the ladder, and we start finding the stocks that are, maybe a little bit higher priced, upper, 70s, 80s, 90s, and then eventually to the lower float stocks that are over $1. And that's kind of like the progression generally that we saw, at least that we've been seeing in past years, at least from my, notes from my, recollection, that I know of, right? So that's what I'm thinking. ATOS is one of those, though. To be honest, where is my ATOS? I'll pull this guy up. I've been in this bad boy for a little bit, and I've played it up and down a couple times. So, we did show a decent sign today, held up. We didn't pull back. Then we did pull back a little bit. Overall market was down, so, a little bit of a pullback. That was the dip. I didn't buy any intention at the time. If we see a sub 90 dip again, I'll reload the shares that I sold and do the same kind of thing. But I'm still looking for a bigger move here, over $1, up towards 125, potentially more for ATOS. And there's catalysts at play here. ATOS has news which could come. That could be a big play as well. It could be a big, a news type of play. So I kind of like that. Technically, yes, still waiting on news for ATX, but at the end of the day, it ran. So I'm not in. Let's pull this bad boy up. Where is it sitting at? Sitting at 210. So I kind of like it down here around in low twos. It's a lower risk play. You're sitting at the SMA, usually a good bounce zone. But we had this run up here to 3+, and so I just took my profits there. Was it kind of like a buy the rumor type of event? Yes. And so if this news comes, do we get a bigger move? I don't know. Maybe not. But technically, we are waiting on the news. Although now it's taking so long, that's like at this point, I don't know. Who knows how long you're going to have to wait. So for me, I took my profits there and move on. That's just generally what I do, as I take profits and then move on to the next one after a type of move that we saw. If we get a quick, for example, ATOS is a stock that, there's potential news here. There's more catalysts at play. So could they be waiting for a PR on any of their different things they have in the pipeline? Yes. But ATOS pushes up to 97 and takes some profits. Pulls back, I'll buy more. And so I'll play ATOS in that range until we get either a press release or until we break out of this range. I'll be trading a smaller size off of a core kind of size. Now, that's one thing to talk about too, in terms of position sizing, scaling in and out. Had some questions about this that I want to just quickly go over. So when I going in small, when I say going in big, for me, it's 10% of my overall account size is a max position size. That's just how I do it. Now, everyone can have their own strategies. This works for me. That's just what I've been doing for the past, 12, 15 months, and it's been working, well for me. And so when I do that, my max size is 10% on my most kind of confident trades, or if I have to kind of average down. For example, if I get caught in an offering, like if you got caught in ATOS, let's say you're buying ATOS in here, like a 140 support, you're buying it, 142 as your average or something like that. They drop an offering, ATOS comes right back down, then comes down to 85 cents. Rather than just panicking and just selling, it's actually, it would have paid a little bit, it would have paid here to be able to average down, have cash on hand, average down, accumulate more shares here in the 80s, let it settle for a sec, and then you would be able to sell this thing for 97 a couple days later. So you would have been able to recoup some of the loss there. And depending upon how big of a move, or, for example, if you're willing to hold this thing out even longer, I think we can still get a bigger move. So I never go all in. I never go 10% in one shot. I buy in pieces. And I usually never get to 10% of my total account in a position unless I'm caught in an offering or something like that and I have to manage my way out. Generally, that's how I'll do it. Or if I go 10%, I'm in it for a day trade and I'm looking to take profits quickly. Something's breaking out. I'm looking for a quick move. I'm taking profits quickly right after I kind of load the boat, and then I'm just slowly scaling out right after that. That's how I'll do it. So I enter in chunks because, I never can catch the bottom, and so I like to be able to average down and accumulate shares. For example, ATOS, I had an average at like 85, right? 85 cents. I really had a better average than that. So, was it kind of bouncing around from the 90s to the low 80s, the 90s again? Yeah, so I like to be able to slowly average in, buy the dips, buy the red days, and then be able to sell into the green days and take profits accordingly as I'm seeing areas of resistance. And so 97 cents here on ATOS is the first area we have to break above. Then it'd probably be $1, and then we'll see from there. OCGN, let's take a look at OCGN. Well, this thing in the pops today. So this thing has been kind of one of those that just, it pushed up, pulled back, found some support here in the upper 170s and popped yet again. For me, let's take a look at let's even say like the weekly chart. What are we looking at? What could we be seeing? This could get kind of crazy if it does keep going. Let's pull back out here. Let's see what we got. So this is some room up. So I mean, it's got some range. So I would say this thing has a potential. This has potential, crazy potential if it really heats up. I wouldn't be playing it up here personally. That's just me because you have a pretty big gap to the downside now, which is from like this 275 down towards like 190 or $2 really. So there's a pretty big gap. I personally wouldn't be playing it, but we'll see. It didn't have a great day today because it had a great day. Don't get me wrong, up 67%, but it pushed up and then it fell off into the end. So for example, like a stock like I don't know, Sngx, check, now it pushed up in the after hours, so it's a different situation, but it closed up, close to the highs. When you see a stock closing the day close to the highs of the day, which we can see by the wick, the full body is going to tell me where it closed. So it closed at 145, right? But it hit 165 intraday. That's a stronger kind of sense. You get a stronger sense for that stock. And so that's why we saw a pretty big move in the after hours. That's what I like to see for continuation moves. So I can see Sngx making a potential continuation. And we'll see. One thing to note here with Sngx is that it eclipsed some of these levels here. So it eclipsed this 237, which is a prior high of the year, right? The yearly high. So it beat over that level. Now this 257, potentially these spikes right here, you want to look back to as next area. So if I was someone to take this trade as an overnight kind of scalp or an overnight kind of gap trade, which I can certainly see this one gapping up, where would I put my sells? I would have my sells, for example, it broke over this 237, so I have my sells here, this 257, which we may have actually hit. We can check on that in a second. 280, and then I would probably put like a 293 or a 297, so like a $3 potentially. And then maybe it can go further than that, but at that point, I'll probably have woken up and see what happens. So that's generally what I'll do. But yeah, we hit 247 here in the after hour. So I think a 257 could be a decent first target, and then potentially up closer towards, 275, $3 could be other good targets, I would say. Yeah, ADTX is it's why, like, for example, I don't personally like to wait too long. Some stocks, it makes no sense if you're down to sell it. Like, I'm not going to sell a stock I'm down, big on if I'm waiting for something like this. But like ATX, like we spike up, from $2 to $3.50. I mean, you're up over $1 on shares on a stock that's under $1. I mean, I always take profits at that point. That's how I generally do it. Let's see. Oh yeah. So one of the things. Oh yeah, I didn't mention NAK at the beginning. So at the beginning, I kind of went over my positions and stuff, which we'll talk about. NAK I think is still okay. I just have a much lower entry, and I saw it starting to get circulated today a little bit, which is good. So that I like to see that when I'm already in. So I can be I'm already in I have a nice solid position. I see people talking about NAK. They immediately have a higher average than me. So I'm feeling pretty good. I either like to be selling into that spike, depending upon the stock. If it's a low float stock, it's thinly traded. That means it can move really quick off of lower volume, less shares available. This is a thicker stock, so this stock takes more to move. So it's a slower mover, but that could also be a good thing where it can kind of slowly grind its way up. It's not like, oh, it's going to spike and you have to be quick. You have to have your order set. I have orders set. I'm looking for potentially close to 50 cents as a target on NAK, which would put us up here, still shy of the 50 SMA. Could it recover more? Yes, but that's what I'm going to be doing for NAK. I've been in it, and I've been kind of bottom picking in a sense, but also looking for this thing to hold over 30 cents, and it has. So I slowly been adding, and so I have a decent size. Not ultimately, I could have, I have to get better at, as the account's been growing more and more lately, I need to be able to be ready to add to my size. So that's one thing I have to work on for sure. But NAK is one that I'm looking at. LODE started to get some attention today. I like LODE anything under 105 if you can get it. Personally, what you might have to do for LODE is just set orders ahead of time. So you wake up, just set like a 103, set a 102, set a 101. And if it dips down and fills, awesome. That's what I'm planning on doing for LODE. LODE is also a great range trader until it breaks out of the range. So it's been in this range from like $1, to about 105, 110. And today was good because it started to kind of break out of this range. So now if we can break over this 112, 113, then I want to see this thing making a move, maybe over 115, making then move to 125, and then potentially further. So that's where my first target is for LODE. But I'll also look to be, buying this thing in the low ones and then just literally just flipping it for a couple cents off of a smaller, off of a couple hundred shares, maybe 1,000 shares, something like that. For what I'm doing, just to make a few extra bucks, because I've been watching it and I've been seeing this is a pretty, steady stock. It's not dropping, it's not popping, really. It's not nothing doing crazy. So market sells off, good opportunity to buy dips. So my thoughts. CRBP, I think CRBP, not unfortunately, but this one just may take a little bit longer. I'm thinking that it's sitting at the 50 SMA, so I'm fine where it's at. I'm just slowly buying more shares. I'm almost up to 1,000, which I'm fine buying more. 50 SMA is the 50 period simple moving average on the daily chart. So kind of confusing, but it's the MA50 on Webull. So the MA50, the moving average, 50 period moving average is what it means. And I use it on the daily chart, so the 1 year, 1 day. That's what I like to use it as a support line, resistance point, and stocks that are sitting above it, below it. That's how I generally like to use the 50 SMA. That's what I say when I say 50 SMA. So this one I think is okay. It could come down more. Could it come down? I would like to see, honestly, I like to see that, if we zoom in, it's got some of these support, some of these wicks down here to 115. Would like to see 115 hold. I don't really want to see lower than that, but could it go lower? Yes. So I'm ready to hold this one. I'm thinking I'm still going to hold this guy for now. I think this thing could get a further pop. And it's got a massive gap to fill. So this one may also just be a patience play where it takes some time. And so I'm just slowly kind of adding into shares. And it's one of those that's in the background that I kind of forgot about in a sense. I'm just not really worried too much about it for right now. Patient play, similar to HOFV, which actually I wonder if this one's coming down. HOFV finished up decently. Similar to this one, where it kind of just it came down, got quiet, and it just kind of trickled off, and then boom, eventually popped. So that's why I like to add into this, and that's why I never just go full position right away, unless it's a day trade. And you're intending to get in here and you're going to get out here quickly, that's it. That's one thing to go with a full size. But for a swing trade, I started buying it up in here in the 140s and started slowly buying. I had my average down to 135, 134, something like that. Thing pops up, goes to 170 something in the after hour session last week. Boom, sold my shares. That's it. Now if it comes back down and it comes back down sub 140, I'll be starting to do the exact same thing yet again, because at 140 we had an insider of the company, a director, I believe, buy 10 million shares. That's a pretty big buy. So it's a good sign for a lot of, it's a pretty good sign when you see that. NGA, I believe NGA. Oh yeah. NGA had a crazy day. They had Amazon news as well. So that was big for NGA to kind of propel them up 9% in after hours. This could be a $35, $40, $50 stock. I could see in the near future the way it's going. I actually had it on my list as a SPAC play that I wanted to get into. I just didn't get it today. Personally, I was watching it, and I watched it, and it had the news, so it spiked up. So I'm not going to buy it right after this news. It's going to pull back. And then we did, because the market was actually down. So if you look at what actually happened with NGA, let's zoom in. So we had this pop right here in the pre-market, and that's what I was watching. I was like, man, I guess I missed my chance. But then the chance then presented itself again back here, around $18, which I missed that dip opportunity. So I missed it. It's fine. This is one of those that I was looking to grab in my longer-term swing account, my long portfolio. Looking to grab it in there, but I missed it. So I found some other SPACs. Let me pull them up. What did I get into? I got into GIX. I think it's a very low risk play right here. GIX under $11. Another SPAC here under 11. So I bought some GIX, and I have that in the long portfolio. So I'm looking to sell. It's one of those where I'll start maybe thinking about selling this guy. 15ish. We'll see what happens. We'll see how things go. GHIV I still have that in this account, both accounts actually, but I'll look to buy this thing if it does dip down below my average, which it actually did today for a second. But if it comes down further, I'll buy more. I think GHIV is one of the largest SPAC deals that there actually is. So I think that one's fine. This is going to be this one will go. Their merger date's the 20th of January. Got time on that one, not worried. So if we see some further sell-offs in the overall market, which let's look at SPY. If we see some further sell-offs in the overall market, that's, I think, a dip buy opportunity. And then I think we'll see that tomorrow, Wednesday, could be big. This could be big. Can this set the tone for, what happens the rest of the week? Or is it just going to be kind of a crazy just dip buy? Who knows what happens with these elections in Georgia? Does it matter that much to the market? Do we care? Does the market care? I I don't know. Because the polls are potentially showing two Democrats winning, was that being priced in today with this dip? I don't know. Maybe. So that's kind of what I'm watching, what I'm paying. We'll see what happens. I think if we do dip below this 362, really the 365 was a prior area of resistance. If we dip below 365 on SPY, we could see some further downside, maybe towards 360, 355 maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't want to see it go too much lower, but I don't think that's really going to happen. I think, we look at this, and the great thing about what we've been seeing, outside of some like black swan, like we go all the way back, right, to the pandemic, this was, kind of, this is a big sell-off, right? But outside of some crazy thing that we didn't see coming, which everything, as of right now, we kind of can see, what's happening, right? Outside of some crazy thing happening, maybe you get a week or two sell-off, okay, but at the end of the day, it has worked out in the past by the dip. With stimulus and with the potential for more stimulus coming that we're being, talked about, I don't know. I think this is, these are just dip buys, in my opinion, for right now. There's no reason for me to believe that this is going to be, that, these aren't dips. So I think that today was a good day for a lot of stocks that had those a lot of SPACs, really, that had these crazy wicks down, these crazy sell-offs. Look at like IPOC. I'm not currently in. I was actually thinking about grabbing it today. Missed the dip. I would have if I wasn't really active today because I had family over. But if I was watching this guy and I saw IPOC drop below 15, I would have 100% taken this thing with some size for a day trade, at a minimum, or at least grab something for a swing. You know what I'm saying? I think this is a $20+ stock at some point. But boom, they did the merger very soon actually too. So this is when you get these sell-offs in the overall market that you can grab and look to some of these SPAC plays. This is down 7%. At one point it was down probably 10+%. That's a crazy sell-off. For what? For why? There's no reason for it to be down 10%, to be honest. So, okay. Let's see. Sngx. Let's pull up Sngx. This had a pretty good day, and it pushed up to over $2 in the after hours. So let's see. Let's pull this bad boy up. Let's see if we can zoom out and find some other areas of resistance that we may be looking at on the chart. So I am going to be saying that look at some of these levels. We're zooming out. We have a gap up here, to 250 from like 225 to 250. So that's my actual, and it's tough to see this. Let me zoom in over here to kind of show you guys why that's like where that's coming from. That's like in here. So it's like, see this little kind of gap right here, roughly. There's a kind of a gap in the chart. It's tough to see, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. And there's even a gap up here from like this 375 to like 4. If it can get to 225, 250, that could be the good target for Sngx. Personally, I don't play that stuff that's like up this much. Just me though. It's my strategy and my style. NAKD continuation. Let's go up to my positions. I actually grabbed NAKD up 20% in the after hour. So I grabbed some in the after hour. So let's take a peek at where I grabbed it. I have an average at 23.49, so just under 24 cents. Is my average, which is awesome. I think it's fine. My thoughts for NAKD is here it is. Let's look at the chart and let's pull this guy up. I don't want to see this thing coming back down below 20 cents. So that's my max risk downside. I think it's going to probably go now. If it doesn't go now, I'll probably cut it. And I'm fairly minimized risk here because I have a pretty decent average from where it's at right now. We'll see. But I have my first sell for half. I'm not going to go crazy here at NAKD. Could it be a crazy runner? Yes. But what I'll do is I'll sell my first half right here. Why? Because prior area of resistance was up here at 33 cents. So I'm going to make sure I sell just below that 33. So if it happens in pre-market hours tomorrow morning at like 4 a.m. when Webull opens, awesome. It hits my sell. I wake up, awesome. I made some money. And then I ride my 1,000 shares. Maybe it gets a continuation throughout the day into the next day. Potentially there's a PR, there's news, who knows? And the thing breaks over 33. Then we look back and say, okay, over 33. Now we got to zoom in and find where are our points. Over 33, I have some lines drawn in. This 200 SMA, 200 simple moving average up here at this 39. So maybe it goes towards 40. That's my potential next target. Maybe I'm taking a couple hundred shares off at that point. I'm riding it for more, and we'll see. I'm not going to get greedy on NAKD because I've played it many times in the past, and I don't want to be, I don't want to get done dirty by this guy. It's just one of those plays, and I'm looking to take my money and move on. That's it. That's how I do it. Everyone has their own kind of strategy. If you want to hold for hope, that's your strategy. I personally have gone through that, and it has done me dirty in the past. So I don't like doing that. That's why I treat all these stocks the same way. Like I say, right? Like you probably hear people treat them as Tinder dates. You don't marry them. That's how I do it. Now, do I miss out like the BNGOs? Do I miss out on those? Yes, but I'm fine with missing those. Fine with it because I just know that most of the time that doesn't happen. Most of the time, right? So you sell a spike and you move on. ZOM. ZOM, another one of those under 50 cent stocks. It pushed up a lot here in the after hours, which is why what I did was actually I saw ZOM pushing up, ZOM, and what I did was I bought NAKD at that point. I think it was like up in here. That's when I bought NAKD, and NAKD hadn't made much of a run in comparison in terms of a percentage gain basis. Now, we're kind of getting kind of ridiculous in terms of these sympathy plays where like the sympathy play is not even a stock from the same sector. It's literally a stock just in the same price range. It's kind of crazy, but that's just how the market kind of works. Especially this time of year, a lot of these, sub $1 January poppers, as they say sometimes, they start popping up. So I would say 50 cents is the first target. Let's just see if we can find some other areas. It's been pushing uptrending right there. 50 cents is the first area. It's way past some of these points. Yeah, so 50 cents would be key because here we hit 49.9, so just shy of 50. So we can draw on a horizontal line here, right around that level. 50 cents is key. You break 50, which actually lines up with that area right there. That's key. Then I would say maybe up towards like 60 cents every 10 cents at that point, and then 60 cents, 75 cents. So watch it. We'll see what happens. I would love to see it go because that would, hopefully bring up a lot of the other stocks that are, sub 50 cents as well. So it keeps those hot. So I like it. We'll see. UAMY. This also, I think UAMY is a cheap guy, right? 40. Yeah, here's another one of those stocks that's super cheap. We can probably even draw in a rough trend line as well, roughly, something like this, rough. So it's a little bit up, but it's down today, so it could be a decent buy tomorrow. But again, a sub 50 cent stock. This stock this stock could be one of those that gets found again. Same type of setup, right? Runs up towards $1. I like that. And I also like UAMY a little bit more than just, NAKD or ZOM. I think I sold into this spike. Or no, I don't even think I did that. I traded it before, but I made some money on it. Nothing crazy, but I played it for a little small swing. GHIV, I think it's going to be 20 plus, but we'll see. It may just have, your traditional volatility into the merger date. So I'm not expecting too much on it right now. Have an average in the 12s. If it dips down below that, I'll buy some more. I have money ready to go to buy some more. And I'll look to sell that and flip that guy at a minimum 20 plus. And if it goes crazy, I'll hold some shares for a crazy run. We'll see. Those things have been kind of, super hot lately, right? Those SPAC plays. What do you invest in the morning? Personally, I don't. Like, the thing with the morning stuff is that I usually don't touch anything in the morning. If I do, I'll pull up my positions on the left-hand side so you guys can at least see what I'm in. What I'll do is I either have my orders set ahead of time, so I pretty much buy in the midday potential. Depends on when the dip is. If we see a big dip on a stock that I'm watching that I like, I'll buy it when I see the dip if I'm watching it. Do I miss the dips on some? Yes. But generally, I don't buy in the pre-market hours because usually you're paying a premium. So I usually like to be selling the pre-market hours on stocks that I'm scaling out of, ideally. And then if I'm buying some in the morning, it's either potentially for a day trade or something like that, or I'm noticing, hey, this stock is lagging in a sector. Oh yeah, what's one other thing to watch too? DGLY, one of those other stocks, right? A riot stock, police body camera stock. So with potential riots, people are talking about with the rally tonight. Trump had a rally, I believe, with Biden had a little rally. And also Biden did mention in his rally that, hey, if you vote the two Democrats in, we're going to get you to $2,000 stimulus checks, right, in the Georgia elections. So all this stuff, there could be some kind of back and forth that people are talking about DGLY, and it's the go-to. I actually had an order here at 245 that I set, and then I looked back, and all of a sudden it was at 255, and I missed it. So I didn't take it. That's an example of a trade that I didn't take that I could have made, 6, 7, 8%, on that trade intraday, but I didn't take the trade because I missed the entry. So I'm pretty greedy, and I've gotten a lot better with that because many times I would just start chasing the stock up, and next thing I know, I'm buying it up here. And, I'm buying it up here, and now all of a sudden I have significantly more downside risk. So if there's no riots, if there's none of that stuff, if nothing happens, which I'm not hoping for that to happen, but this is one of those stocks that you can take advantage of what's going on, currently in the world. This is how this stuff kind of works. If that doesn't happen, the stock comes back down. If I had an average where I wanted it, right, I'm probably going to make money on the trade no matter what. But if I buy it up here, if it goes, it goes. A 3+, awesome. And we get riots, great. Not great, but also great for the stock, I guess. But if it doesn't happen, you may be losing money or taking, a break-even trade where you probably could have made money. That's why I'm pretty, there's always another trade is how I see it. And there was NAKD, which is what I played, NAKD, instead. I'm up, nicely on that guy. And that's that. Let's see what else. I don't think I have very much TTO. EVFM, I'm still just riding this guy if we watch him. It's just kind of consolidating for the next leg, I think. EVFM consolidating in this range here from like 260 down to like 235. So it's in there, and I want to see it move towards 3. I'm just chilling, waiting on that bad boy. Neo, crazy. Neo had some awesome numbers out as well. So Neo is broken out at this level. So where is Neo going? I only have 35 shares left in my swing trade position. I've got shares in a long-term portfolio, like I've been saying, but I bought in here, down here, it's offering. We've been riding it on up. And I'm expecting Neo in anticipation of Neo Day on the 9th of January, which is coming up, I guess, in like 5 days. I'm anticipating it to break out to all-time highs. Could it happen tomorrow? Sure. It could happen tomorrow. I'm looking for 60+. And at that point, I'll be scaling that on my shares, and I'll be riding a few shares, and that's it. Then eventually, when Neo kind of cools off, I'll sell my Neo, and I'll just have my Neo in my long-term portfolio, and that's it. And then I'll move on. I'll move this money into something else for a swing trade that I see more potential value in for a higher percentage gain in a shorter period of time. That's kind of how I just rotate the money. And so, that's what we're doing. And also one thing too, I think today was a pretty big day in this account. I've broken over the 25K, which is awesome. But at the same time, like I now could go back to a margin account, but I'm not going to go back to a margin account right now. It's too hot. I think if I do change my account type on Webull, if you change your account type, then you have to wait like a week for them to go and change it. At least that's what happened when I went from a margin to a cash account. So there's no need. I've been doing very good with the cash account ever since I changed it. I think I've had green weeks ever since I changed it. I have not had a red week since, of course, knock on wood. We'll see how that goes. This week starts off pretty good. So if I do go red this week, something crazy would have to happen. But that's my plan for Neo at least. PLTR, let's take a look at this guy. So it's coming down. I don't know. I don't want to bottom pick this guy. I want to see if it kind of settles and cools off a little bit. So it's been kind of coming down. It broke out of the trend, and now I'm looking for maybe down towards this little guy right here, down towards 21-ish. Under 22 could be a spot I could see. That's what I think. We'll see. WTER. Water. Let's pick this bad boy up and see. So it's sitting here. It broke below. It looks like broke below 1. So it's down below 1. The only problem with this guy that I see is that it's somewhat bottom picking. So unless you know a catalyst, unless you have a catalyst in mind or a reason to believe this is going to go up, right, in the near future, you're bottom picking in a sense. So it has some consolidation here in the low 90s, and it found support here a little bit today in the low 90s as well. So maybe 93, 90-ish. Down towards 85 could be a spot to be looking to buy something. But personally, right, I mean, it's could this recover and have a pop? Yes, but it's tougher to tell. I mean, I would like to see a day or two of consolidation. Was this the dip that dropped below 1 and it recovers back? I'll see what happens tomorrow. If it gets back above 1 and holds above 1, that's a decent entry, I think, around that level. And then being ready to add on dips if it does drop below. But it's somewhat of a bottom pick, which I sometimes like to do. But you have to have just, as long as your plan's in place to be adding on dips and being ready for it, then it's fine. We'll see. Check, bingo. We'll take a look at BNGO. One thing too, for those who are just jumping in now, because I know I talked about this at the beginning. What I want to say with BNGO, made a video on it earlier. You can check it out if you want, giving my take on it, why I won't buy it. Nothing against the stock potentially long term. Nothing against it. It's just simply because what we are seeing right now is. Now, you make that decision if you're not educated enough to know what's going on, and many people are. I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying there's a lot of people who don't know. And for those who don't, hope this can help. You don't have to know everything about the company. You don't have to know what this stuff that they're doing means realistically. You don't really need to know, but you can trade it and make money. And there are people who are doing so. And there are people who have no idea what they're even doing, and they're just buying it because they saw somebody say they're buying it. Understand that not every stock is going to do that. Not every penny stock is going to do that just because there's good news. And so I want you to make sure you don't read into something else, right? All of a sudden, oh yeah, well now, okay, Check's the next next best thing, or SNDL is the next best thing, or ZOM, or NAKD, just because they put out some news that people say, oh, this is good news, right? 95% of these penny stocks are penny stocks for a reason, and 95% of them will probably not be around in like 5 years. That's just kind of what happens. There's been a lot of stocks that just go away. Like they're no longer there because, they get delisted. The cycle repeats. BNGO, I have faith to believe this thing will be around for a little bit, right? My anticipation. But just because you're playing into the euphoria, the market conditions will change. They will change, and people will get destroyed buying something up this high or buying anything off of a news press release, That's all. That's all I'm going to say. I think Check has some room up. BNGO, I think it could go a little bit more. We'll see if we get a pullback tomorrow. It looks like after hours is down, so we'll see. Check is up. We want to see Check going for 257, which is this guy, and then 280, and then potentially $3. Those are my levels on Check. SG blocks. Let's see SGBX, how this bad boy is doing. So look, it's still been grinding up. This has been a solid play. Just been slowly grinding up, putting in a higher low again. Basically right, but putting in a higher low, just kind of uptrending. It's getting up there. So for those who are looking for this guy, either you're playing it long term, or if you're looking for a short term trade, understand that it is getting up there. So maybe you're playing breakouts over prior highs. We have a little spike up here towards like the 670 area. So that's going to be an area of resistance when we get up there. We're close. But this 650 to 670 is going to be a tough area to break through. Once you break through, there's going to be a lot more room to the upside, up towards 10. So that's looking pretty solid in my eyes right there. CLA, pull this bad boy up. Another SPAC, right? So this guy is at 13. I don't know enough about this specific SPAC. Only thing that I do see just right here, there's a gap, and this gap, many times these gaps get filled. So personally, if you're in it, start to have some shares, but look to potentially be grabbing some shares if it comes down further, because it could certainly do so. I don't know where it's going to settle, but I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down a little bit more. Dollar, potentially more. We'll see. COUV. What is this guy? Carrier Alliance. Another 50 center, sub 50 center. Only problem with this guy, again, it's the same type of thing, is that this is a OTC stock. Nothing against OTC stocks. I don't play them personally, but look how much it's up. Okay, today was a solid play because it pushed up, right? Came back and then broke out over the prior high. Awesome. That's great news. That's great. 50 cents is a very strong resistance point. So if it breaks over 50, could it go more? Yes, that could be your breakout trade. Personally, I would not play it up here because you're immediately have a massive downside risk. But if it came down and started consolidating, let's say in this like 20 cent area, that's a good spot to pick up some shares. I would say that's a better, in terms of risk reward, better spot to pick up some shares. Over 10 grand date. That's awesome. Today was a great day for those, for a lot of people, for a lot of penny stocks, bio stock, stuff like that. Great day. If you guys wouldn't mind hitting the thumbs up button, I appreciate you guys all jumping in. That's awesome. Lots of ideas starting to flow. Day trade XSPA. XSPA. How is this bad boy doing? This is one that I played plenty of times in the past on swings. I don't know why we can't pull this guy up. But let's see what else we have. What else do we got to pull up? HUFV. Oh, HUFV is one to watch too. Hit 170, but I would like this one to come down with sub 140. Mogo is a Bitcoin play. Mogo is a Bitcoin play, I believe. But let's take a look at what it's doing. It's up a good bit. It's been uptrending, so it's putting in higher lows. I think it's okay. A lot of these Bitcoin plays, to be honest with you, be careful with them because a lot of them just kind of are sympathy plays. And just because like, Bitcoin is slowing back, these things could pull back quickly. And a lot of times you don't want to get caught in that. I wonder actually how did Mara do? I know Bitcoin was ripping right over the weekend. So how did this guy do? So Mara actually hits 14 like last week, right? Opens up today at 12. So it gapped up, but then it came down pretty hard. So it really didn't close up that well because Bitcoin came down. So it's kind of some things you can, something that happens sometimes. So we'll see. Let's see. CRSR. Oh yeah, this is that gaming stock. It's at the 50 SMA. I mean, okay, this is a good range, I think, to be picking up some shares, in my opinion, down in this range, right around these low 30s. I mean, if it comes down below, it's up to you, depending upon if you like this thing long term, to be buying the dips. One of the stocks, where is it that I bought that is, I think, kind of goes against that rule, but it's a long term play. Is this bad boy, Compass Pathways? I bought this guy today. Personally, right, like it kind of just fell through, and it's like I'm not sure where it's gonna stop. But personally, like I just started buying some shares because I believe in this guy for the long term. And so I bought some in the long-term portfolio. I think it's going to be a potentially $100 stock at some point. But we'll see. We'll give it some time. BTC, how's Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin at 32, so it is pushing up right now as we were speaking. It is pushing up. 34.8 is what we have as a high. That's crazy, though. I personally, not that I played the FOMO, but I bought Bitcoin at like 18,000 this past year because I was like, hey, it's going to break 20K. I might as well get in now because I didn't have any at the time. 5% of my portfolio, but it's up massively, right, since I bought. Now, okay, I'm probably going to hold that forever, to be honest with you, or for a long time. So that's really what I'm doing. Could I have looked to sell it and buy back cheaper? Maybe, but I'm not going to mess with that. I'm just going to hold this guy. So that's my take on Bitcoin for now. BTBT. The only thing is that if you look at Bitcoin on the daily chart, is like it's like straight up. How far could it go straight up before another period of consolidation or a dip? Up decent, like look at the weekly chart. I mean, a decent dip down to like 26,000 would be like a fairly healthy dip, in my opinion. So I could see that happening. We'll see. I think overall this thing is going to continue to trend up, especially with the more stimulus we keep getting. I mean, I think it's going to keep going up. That's that. Let's see. EBON was one that I didn't make much on it, but I mean, look at this. I played it for like a little bit of this. I made some money on this pop, but it went way more today. Wow, I didn't realize it went almost like $10. That's crazy. I wonder if the pre-market it was higher. Because a lot of times you'll see with like, it pretty much at 10, like at 4 a.m., right? Probably. That's crazy. That's nuts. ADMP, I'm not in. Let's just take a peek at this guy. ADMP was one that I got kind of crushed in an offering on it. And not stupidly, but honestly, I realistically should have just bought the offering, which I didn't really do. I actually ended up kind of selling it up here, like upper 40s, 47 or something like that was when I ended up selling. Ideally, could I have just waited for it to settle down, buy it in the 30s, and then I would be able to probably go get out for a profit, honestly, if I did it right. Yeah, instead of taking an L. But sometimes, some stocks, they do dirty and you just want to move on. That's it. That's kind of how I did it. Ultimately, that was a mistake on my end. Let's see. DPW took my money today. Let's take a look at DPW. Did it pull back? Yeah, it did. Down 3%. So DPW, I think, is getting down to a decent buy range for a swing. Down sub 4, I think, is pretty good. It had actually dipped down sub 4 today a little bit. But it's getting down there. I mean, the 50 SMA is also coming up, so this should hold support too, potentially. As this thing comes up close to the 350, 350 should be a pretty good support, I think, on DPW for now. ABIO, I didn't miss it, but I'm looking at this guy. If it comes down tomorrow, I like ABIO. ABIO is actually a decent play. That under 4 is ideally where I want to get it. Have some catalyst here for 2021. I like it. If we look back to their chart, they got the potential, because if we look back, you're looking at a play that's bottoming out, right? Bottoming out, developing support, putting in actually higher lows recently. Look at the potential on the chart. Chart has, spikes at the 22. So it's got some pretty, serious potential up. So I like it. CHEK, quickly, just for those who are just interested, we hit 247 in after hours. So I want to see now 257, 280, and then $3 would be the next 3 levels on CHEK. Outside of that, let's see. GNOG. Golden Nugget Online Gaming System came down to like the 50 SMA, came down towards this area, this 18s. This was a decent potential dip buy. I didn't do anything to my position. I actually have some from down in here. Looking for this thing to make a recovery eventually, but we'll see. I want to take a peek at like TKNG, DraftKings, and see how, DraftKings is pulling back too. So I think GNOG is a longer term play. I'm not too worried about it as well. Let's see. Will QuantumScape go back? I don't know. Well, I think it's getting crushed. I don't even know what the news is here. But that is potentially going to find some support here in this 50-ish area, I would think. So we'll see. I would hope it's finding some support here. I'm not in, but this thing at one. This is one of those examples of a SPAC play just gone right. And the potential that you have with some of these SPACs that have a decent backing to them. If you're just playing something that has no kind of history, it's kind of like you're hoping for this thing to become big in the future. Those SPACs, I think people are seeing through that, and they're not running. The ones that are running are ones that have backing to them. So I don't know enough about this guy personally. Turn up my volume. Can barely hear. I don't know. Anybody else not able to hear? This thing is up on full. At least from this that I have it. It's in the same range I've always had it, so I don't know. Fisker new truck. Check out last year's Hoffy. Bought that low. Yeah, I was swinging Hoffy for a while. I had bought Hoffy back. Yeah, I bought Hoffy back in here, and then I averaged down and slowly bought it, and then I sold into the spike last week on the after-hour spike. Fisker has a new truck. What do they have? They also have, there's actually a billboard. My brother saw a Fisker billboard today, which is kind of funny. This thing is, it's sitting at an area that I would like to see it bounce off of. I would like to see it bounce back up towards 18-ish. I can hear fines. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe that's, yeah, everything. I haven't changed anything. Fisker, I'm thinking with more catalyst potential, more numbers coming out. I think it's a patience play. Yeah, you had your chance to sell over 20 if you wanted to just swing it quickly. Now, if you're holding it, what I'm doing is I'm just selling options. I'm just selling, options out, up around like 17, 18, something like that, making a few bucks, adding that few dollars to my account. And then at the same time, if Fisker pops up, I may sell a few shares and then use that cash to go into something else and just ride the rest of it out long term. That's it. SNDL, where's my SNDL? I like this guy. I like SNDL a lot. We'll have to see what happens with the Georgia runoff elections. Current levels with what I personally have in SNDL, looking for 60 cents first, and then let's see if we can break to 75 cents. Those are my two areas. Fubo, let's see. Fubo is one that I have not touched, although I think there's some talk about, a dip buy today. It came to the 50 SMA, but it's down, it fell down below 25. I want to see it around 25 hold up. Yeah, could it, bounce off this 20, down to 23.13 today? That's fairly low. But I think it could bounce. I kind of like Fubo, to be honest with you. So I wouldn't be surprised for a bounce back up towards $30 plus in the coming sessions. Pretty volatile, though. It's been just coming straight down. So, I don't like to bottom pick like that. I would like to see it consolidate. Now, will Fubo just consolidate or will it just bounce? It may just bounce and I miss it. What are you going to do? Let's see. I think it's a decent, you're getting into a better risk reward here, unlike those who potentially bought up here, 60 plus, that's kind of Jack Mock, obviously. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what the heck's going on with him. I heard about that. So what did Alibaba do? Alibaba came down. I don't know what's up with that. That's just kind of weird. So that's one of those things, again, like we can invest in these companies, we can trade these companies, but like there's stuff like that happens that could just pull back a stock for whatever reason, right? Or, who knows what happens tomorrow? Who knows what happened to him? But there's nothing you can do. You can't do anything about that, right? There's nothing you can do. So you always have to manage your risk. Yeah, it's one of those things. Let's see. SNDL, BNGO check. That's awesome. That's an awesome day. Find on stocks. Okay, so I have a video on the channel going over how to find the next 100% penny stock runner. That's, like word for word, like what the title is. But shortly, it's finviz.com is what I personally use. You can go to a screener and you can sort through so many different things. So I have a pretty brief video going through at least how I do it briefly, and there's many ways you can customize it to however you want and whatever works for you and whatever you're kind of noticing. So if you're now under $1 or running up, boom, I'm looking for stocks under $1. Boom. What stocks under $1? Okay, this is a stock. AAU. Boom. Actually, just as I see this guy, this could be a play. Like I'm literally just finding it right now. Literally the first stock I see. 100 million float, not terrible for a stock at this price. It's fine. You go down and look, see if any press releases, see what's going on with the company. Boom. Now I'm looking at AAU right here, saying, hey, I don't want to hold it below 45, but it's sitting under 50. So under $50, I'm going to buy shares, and I'm going to have my stop loss, mental stop loss at 45 cents. And I'm looking for this thing to make a recovery back to like 65 plus. Boom, there's my plan. It's in place. Boom, just like that. That's that's a very quick and how I start. And then from there, you can look further into the company. If you want to look into financials, you want to look into press releases and stuff like that, you can go deeper. But that's just how I briefly do it. And I have a link to FinViz, I think should be in the description of the videos as well. Fcel. How is Fcel looking these days? So it's trying to pull back. So okay, it's holding up. It came down to this 10-ish area. So it's back in that range again. Let's see what happens. If it comes down further, I think 925 or 950 could be a decent spot to buy some. That's what I'm thinking. Kind of have a downtrend forming here, roughly. If you wanted to draw something, rough. So that's kind of what you're looking at for Fcel for now. Gene is also one of those. I'm surprised no one has asked about this guy yet. Gene has been running up a lot too, but Gene has his 525, so I think we can make a shot. I mean, I like these setups personally, not necessarily buying where it is now, but I like these types of setups where it starts to kind of develop some support. We have the 50 SMA underneath, pretty solid support there at 325. If you were to be able to buy something for a swing trade down here, sub 350, you're risking like 10, 25 cents to the downside for a bigger move. You're getting the U shape now. Let's see if we can cry. So break above that 525. That could be a pretty big breakout. For if you look to the left for more. I mean, look to the left, we can see 6, 10. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but then you have a lot more room to the upside over that level. Sngx would be worth scooping. Let's take a look at Sngx. Sngx, boom, boom, boom. Oh yeah, so this is actually sitting right here. Oh, this actually looks good. I wonder if I have it on my list. I don't even know. I don't think I do. Maybe I'll put it down. This fits generally what I like to look for. So it's sitting right here, consolidating. So this is great. Gap down, great, right? I mean, now ideally, like something bad happened, obviously, so it's not great. Either an offering, bad news, whatever. You can look further into that yourself. But it's sitting right here, right around this 130 area, down towards 121 is the low. Don't really want to see it going below 120, probably. But it's lining up and consolidating right around an area that it dipped down to in the past, around the same 130 area, with room up. So this thing has some room. I like this guy a lot. Could be a solid trade. I like that. It's awesome. The video where I go to FinViz is called How to Find the Next 100% Penny Stock Runner or something along those lines. It's fairly recent. In the past 2 or 3 weeks, I made it on the channel. So if you go to just my videos recent, you'll find it. It's one of those. Holding NNDM long term, but still wanting to see them some kind of positive news after the last offering. Yeah, we'll see what happens with NNDM here. Where are they sitting? So they're sitting here, $8 is support for now, If it does dip below 8, I can see 750. That's where it came down to in pre-market after one or before one of the offerings. So that's what I would like to see for NNDM. So that's currently my thoughts on it. So if it comes down there, it could be worth an entry. But at the end of the day, they do like to do offerings a lot. So for me, it's I'll wait for the offering and buy the offering. That's what's been working, personally. FUV. RC Moto is kind of just okay. Let's see if we can put a trend line in from some of these wicks. Yeah, roughly, rough. I mean, would like to see it now getting back up and holding up here over this 1350 tomorrow. Ideally, if not, it may come down, down towards some of these bottoms, which is in the 11, in the under 12, in the 11 range. Personally, that's what I would be thinking. CBFT, how's BFT doing? Coming down again with the market down. These could be good dip opportunities for a lot of these SPAC plays. So this is coming down. Could it come down more? I think it could find some support around this 1350 area. So if it has $1 down more down to this area right here, I could see that 1375 maybe. Roughly where it came down to today. So let's see, what are the futures looking like? Because this is kind of interesting. So they're up actually a little bit of a rebound off today. Would not be surprised. It would be nice for a nice little small green day tomorrow. Would be fair. Would be fair. And I'm curious to see what happens with a lot of the penny plays. With a big, with a green day tomorrow, right? What happens to a lot of these penny plays, these sub, dollar penny plays have been super hot. BIOL, one of those up 12% today. BIOL's got to clear this 50 cents. That's the key. I mean, we look back, we have 3 wicks right here, 3 days where we just have wicks up to its 50 cents. and then we have a support area, or we have this day we have a downside wick to 50 cents. That's a prime area of support resistance, right now. So BIOL, you got to get over 50 cents. Until then, I'm not a fan. I'm not a huge fan. If I was going to play the 50 cent breakout, it would be a day trade. The intention would be a day trade. So I buy the shares, and maybe I'll swing some, but I'm looking to scale out if anything pops up. Have my risk in place. That's it. NXTD. Let's take a peek at that. I didn't see what happened to this guy today, personally. Popped up and then pulled back. So NXTD down towards like 125, $1 would be the areas I would be looking for. I think it's potentially going to come down unless Bitcoin makes another push or they have their own news. So that's what I would be looking at, personally. Let's see. CSCW was also one that I was looking at past couple weeks. Sorry, CSCW. So where is this guy at? It's at 66 now. Okay. So, let's see if it came down a little wick. It could come down more if it comes down to the trend line. I like it a lot. I like the trend line support buy. But it's one of those where it was like a buy the rumor, sell the news on their launch of their app, right? So it was like, And once it happened, it kind of just went, JMIA, big dip today, actually. So this kind of broke this uptrend. It kind of cracked through this level. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know if I would really want to be bottom, picking here. And this guy catching a knife. It closed out pretty kind of gross, down 11%, and it finished the day down towards the bottom of the trading range of the day. Not a great look. So I could see further downside. Unless the market really recovers tomorrow, I could see further downside on this guy, potentially. Maybe in the low 30s, down to the low 30s maybe is a spot for, if it can't hold 35, down towards the low 30s if it doesn't hold 35, personally. I don't know. We'll see. I like TTCF a lot for the long term. In terms of top picks for tomorrow morning. I don't know. I'm a swing trader, so personally, I want to see what NSPR does. I'm scaling out most of my shares, but now I'm riding the last bit. Bought some on the live stream last week. And I personally sold at 43 and 47. I was up over 30% in my position. And so when that happens for most of my trades, I take a chunk off, solid chunk. And now I'm riding the last bit of shares for a bigger move. 50 cent breakout could be big. Well, it broke over 50 cents in the after hour session. So now I'm looking for potentially 75 cents. So I'm going to sell a chunk there and then maybe make a crazy move. Cool. If it does, great. If not, I'm happy with my profits on this guy. I wish I had bought more last week, ideally, but it is what it is. Sometimes you don't get enough, and it's one of the things I'm learning as the account grows. I got to be able to size up my position sizing a little better. Appreciate 200 plus people. If you guys wouldn't mind, hit the thumbs up button. I appreciate you guys. I'm probably gonna wrap things up in a little bit here because we're going for a little over an hour, so I'm gonna go through at least thoughts on what I'm looking at for tomorrow. Outside of that, SNDL is a big, huge watch for tomorrow with the elections, the Georgia elections. Huge watch. If that goes Democratic, don't get political here on the channel, but if that goes Democratic, huge for cannabis stocks. Huge, because that puts, whether it really matters for SNDL, you want to go to U.S. stocks, whatever you want to do, OTC plays, I don't care. A lot of cannabis stocks will go. Probably Wednesday, once we know results, I would think. We'll see. We'll see how tomorrow we'll even know any results, if anything, out of Georgia. But what that means, you can get legislation passed through because the House is Democratic. If there's Democratic control in the Senate, what does that mean? It makes things pass so much easier because there's a higher chance of support on both sides. Bills can get passed, and so whether you like it or not, that's just kind of the nature of what we have, right? That's it. So we'll see. 60 cent breakout will be big. I think 60 cents gets us up to towards like 65, 75, and then if that does happen, then we can see more on SNDL. Quick explanation of finding good swing trades. So what I like to do is I'm looking for support areas. So I'm looking for stocks that are many times bottomed out on a swing trade. So what I'll do, right, like we were showing before on FinViz, right? I'm screening for stocks. Let's say I'm screening for stocks. I'm looking for stocks under $1. Okay, cool. I'm looking for stocks under $1, and I'm going to sort by the cheapest ones. So here we go. Here are my cheapest stocks under $1. I quickly get a brief look at the chart. Can I see areas of support and resistance? And how do you even know what that is? Well, NAK is an example. This is a stock that flatlines. So look at this flat line. It just comes down and flatlines. So that interests me. Then I go to my platform, N8K. I'll look at the 1 year, 1 day chart, and I see, hey, this stock came down to like 30 cents and didn't drop below. So what does that tell me? Roughly a 30-cent support line. That's where I would draw the line in the sand, saying, hey, this stock is not dropping below 30 cents. Anything down around that level, I'm going to buy. And if it drops below 30 cents, I'm out. That's how I kind of manage my risk. So I put myself in a low risk, high reward entry with room up. Lots of room up. Many times it's bad news or an offering. And then, so once I see the chart, I find the chart, then I dive into what's the company, what's the sector, why did the stock drop, right? What's going on? Are there catalysts at play? Do they have things coming out? You look through past press releases, say, hey, at the bottom of the press release, it might just say, we're expected to announce data on blah, blah, blah trials in Q1 of 2021. Boom. There you go. You already know you've got a catalyst. Boom. So you're finding a bottomed out chart with a catalyst. You're low risk, high reward. Boom. That's how I like to do it on a pretty brief. Of course, every situation is different, but that's just generally how I do it. I do go live during some days. I did more like holiday period, holiday periods when more people can kind of tune in is when I'll try to do it. ACST, let's take a look at ACST. This is a cheap one as well, right? A 39, so it hit 45. I want to see ACST making a move broke over 45, so that's a 200 SMA. So now over 50 cents and then over 56, this high right here puts us, I would say, a shot to fill the gap towards like 65. So I kind of like ACST. It was a decent dip buy. If you had a chance to buy this thing under 30, it was a decent dip buy last week, actually. So what I'm going to do, that's pretty much it. I'm going to pull up my position on the left-hand side. What else? I'll run through NSPR, scaling out, looking for a little bit more, maybe not. If we don't get it, I already made money on that play. I'm not too worried. SNDL will be huge tomorrow. If it breaks over 60 cents, I'll be taking some profits. I'm not going to be holding through the vote because if we don't get, if Democrats don't win, it's not going to just plummet, but it's probably going to pull back. Probably. Right? We'll see. And also, it's a cheap stock, so it fits the mold for what's hot right now. N8KD looking for a continuation play potentially tomorrow. We'll see how high this thing could go, over 33 cents. That's the key area for N8KD, first area of resistance in my book. Neo day on the 9th. This is making pretty much exactly what I like to happen. So downtrend breakout, had the offering, downtrend breakout, popped up here to 50 cents $50, sorry. Came down, tested the 50 SMA, dip buy right there, higher lows, boom. Now the second time's the charm, breakout over that $50, boom. Now we make a shot towards all-time highs and potentially further into Neo Day. Boom. That's a beautiful trade. But I'm in the process of scaling out. That's it. NAK, bottomed out play, looking for, 43, 50 cents is my targets, at least on that guy. TTO, I don't really have much at all, but if it dips more, I'll buy it. I'm looking for, small little guy right there. Scaling out towards 150. EVFM consolidating. It's looking pretty solid, looking for a move up towards $3. LODE, mining play. Comstock Mining is the company. This thing, I'm looking for a bigger breakout up towards 125 plus. I want to see that type of move. VISL was kind of a hedge, or not a hedge, but in case we see DGLY, Riot plays, other types of Riot stocks pushing up, VISL sitting here at the 50 SMA for a balance play looks pretty good for a move up towards 150 plus. If Riots break out, which who knows if that's going to happen? I don't know with the vote, with Trump's rallies. I don't know. What is Trump going to say? Is he going to say something like, for example, right? No, nothing political, but if Trump came out and said, hey, I'm not leaving, right? What is that going to do? Right? People are going to go crazy. They're going to be, I don't want to get all into that, but that's why people started playing DGLY. I noticed DGLY, a police body camera play, started moving up. So I bought some VISL just in case DGLY goes crazy. VISL likes to follow along. That's it. That's the play. Nothing crazy, not a large size there. CRBP, waiting on this guy, sitting right down here, waiting on it a little bit. NVIV, also waiting for, I want to see this thing go up to $1. So it's slowly grinding its way on up. It actually pushed up to 90 cents. Oh, I didn't even realize that. It pushed up to 90 cents in the 91 in the after hour session. Okay. Well, I didn't notice that. That's awesome. NVIV. So maybe this thing hits my 93 first chunk, and then I'll look for 97 and then potentially $1 plus. That's that. Kind of a slow grinder. ATOS, I want to see this thing breaking out over 97 cents. That's the next resistance point. 97 cents ATOS. Anything under 90, I'll buy. AMCI is a SPAC play, longer term hold there. GHIV, SPAC play, same type of thing. HUSA, slowly accumulating this guy as we take a look at USO. It's an oil play. HUSA is an oil play. Look at USO uptrending, putting in higher lows roughly. So I'm looking for, eventually these types of stocks will pop and we'll get their spikes. And HUSA's chart is setting up very nicely. So anything under 170 in my eyes is a good buy. And I immediately set my sell orders, some, not the whole share size, to 197 and 193 because I'm looking to sell my shares at those points. As HUSA gets a spike, it hits those levels almost every time. So that's why I'm seeing that. Keeping going down the list. AMBO is still sitting nice on the trend line, right? Sitting right here. Fine until it cracks the trend. I'm going to stay in. MITO, waiting on something. We're waiting on a catalyst. I forget what the catalyst was. I have it written down somewhere. I sold some up here, so looking for a potential move back up. And then RMED. RMED, I will be adding this guy down under 7. If it dips under 7 down to the 50 SMA. So we'll see. That's my play on those. That's really what I'm in. I check really quick. It's going to have a potential gap up tomorrow. So I would say check has a couple spots to hit. And the numbers we talked about was 157 based on this spike right here. I mean, 257, sorry. $2.57, and then 280, and then $3. So I want to see those three levels. 257, 280, 3 are the next resistance points on check. If it goes above that, could get kind of crazy towards 4 maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. BNGO, it may pull back because the after hours was weak. So we'll see if we get a pullback tomorrow. On BNGO. Fcel, if it can't hold in the 10s, I want to see a 925 on Fcel. That's just my plan. So half of ATOS when it hit 97 the other day, bought back at 90, snatched. Yeah, there you go. So ATOS is one of those where it's like a range for right now, and I'll trade the range until it breaks out. So I'm trading around a core kind of share size, and then, we'll see from there. SYN, before we wrap things on up, popped up a lot here in the after hours, right? Had a pretty big day, as it is, and then it popped up in the after hours. So this thing has got to break $1. So it hit 99. So if it breaks $1, could this thing go for more? Let's take a look at the daily chart really quick. Zoom in. 75 cents was resistance there. Yeah, over $1, this thing has a gap up towards 130. So over $1, this thing can go to 130-ish. So I like that. I have plenty of swing trade videos. I have a swing trading playlist on the channel. Check it out. There's lots of good stuff in there if you're interested. Outside of that, we'll see what happens. That's pretty much what we're going to do for today. We'll wrap things up here. I personally, for those types of plays, I play them technically based, and so I'm not in them. They may pop in the pre-market hours, and we'll see what happens after that. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. What we'll do is I'll try to do more live streams over the next few weeks. At a minimum, we always do Sunday nights. This week we did Monday night because I had family in town, but at a minimum, we always do Sunday nights to get ready for the week. Crazy week. Let's take a peek last second here at futures as they're pulling out. There looks like a mini bounce for right now. We'll see what happens tomorrow. The elections, the Georgia elections, could be the wrench here, throw thing for a loop. Who knows? So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe today was the dip before the rip. I don't know. We'll have to see. And then they potentially have more stimulus going forward. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Leave a like on the stream as you head on out. And also, this should stay up on the channel. So if you want to go back to the beginning, we talk about some things, you can go back and rewatch this, I believe, as well. So appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.